Okay, there we go. Okay, so welcome everyone. This is our LMU Art Therapy Research Institute second faculty talks of the year of 2024. And we're so excited to have our team that will represent a collaborative project. And so I'll be introducing first Jessica Bianchi. Dr. Jessica Bianchi is a licensed marriage and family therapist, board certified art therapist, assistant professor at LMU. She's the clinical director of the Helen B. Langarten Art Therapy Clinic. She developed a specialized skill set that integrates concepts from art therapy and education as a way to promote social justice and community activism amongst diverse population. Jessica thrives on collaboration and has facilitated therapeutic art services in numerous contexts, including residential group homes, outpatient clinics, K through high school settings, medical centers, and federal correctional institutions, as well as providing consultation and professional development on the topics of art therapy, trauma-informed educational practices, and arts and social emotional competencies. Additionally, Jessica is the co-founder of Recipes for Connection, an organization that provides art-based social and emotional trauma-informed strategies to support student mental health, strengthen relationships, and create positive school communities. So really, Jessica is the director of the clinic and put together this wonderful collaboration with the Loyola Law School. So I will turn it over to you, Jessica.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Hi, Catherine. Catherine, I would love for you to share some details about this as well. Catherine was really involved in this project last fall, so I'm happy to see you. I'm happy to see everyone. Thank you so much, Joyce, for that introduction. We're going to be talking about this really interesting collaboration that we did with the Collaborative Law Clinic. I am joined by two friends and colleagues that have really supported this program. And so I'm going to introduce both of them, and then we'll kind of move through the history of this project, and we'll see how it all turned out. So first I have Kevin Croman. I'm going to introduce you. Kevin Croman, Esquire, is a graduate of the University of California at Berkeley and has a master's in English literature from DePaul University. Kevin is a Loyola Law School graduate, where he won the Mediation Advocacy Award as the statewide finalist in the Mediation Advocacy Challenge Program. Kevin has been an adjunct professor for 9 years at the Loyola Law School, providing clinical experience to law students, and presently is the director of the Collaborative Mediation Clinic at Loyola Law School Center for Conflict Resolution. And we're going to hear from Kevin in just a second about how the origin of this project, of this collaboration. But I'd also like to introduce Meg Lewis. Meg Lewis is a licensed marriage and family therapist, registered art therapist, and clinical certified partner specialist with a background in public mental health and private practice sex therapy. She has served a diverse range of client issues. She is an expert psychodynamic group therapist who specializes in working with betrayal trauma for partners of sex addicts. Meg Lewis is a clinical supervisor to Loyola Marymount University marriage and family therapy students and the program director for LMU's art therapy involvement in the Loyola Law School Collaborative Divorce Clinic. So I have both of these wonderful individuals here today to share about our experience integrating art therapy and collaborative divorce. But to start us off, Kevin, could you please share how this all started?
Yes, I'm happy to. So first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. I'll just tell a little bit about collaborative divorce, and then I'll just get into how this started. So for those of you who don't know, collaborative divorce is an out-of-court process that helps divorcing couples go through the divorce process without resorting to litigation. And they achieve that by the attorneys first agreeing not to go to court and that they would be disqualified if they did go to court. So that is a huge step, away from the court process. And they also include other professionals, including mental health professionals and financial experts and child specialists in the team for the parents. Each person has a collaborative attorney. Each person typically has a collaborative coach. The neutral financial is there to gather financial information and present it neutrally. And the child specialist is there to bring the voice of the child into the process. We always say bring their voice in, but not their choice in. We're not asking them to choose between mom and dad, but to share their experience as they're going through the divorce. So the collaborative clinic has been around for 10 years now. We're going on our 10th year. And we get our volunteers from Los Angeles Collaborative Family Law Association. We get our attorney volunteers as well as the coaches. But what we were missing was the voice of the child. And so lo and behold, I think I realized that, not so far away, there was this great campus with this great art therapy program. And we thought at first that it would be a terrific opportunity to incorporate the voice of the child by doing some art therapy with the children. I think that was the original thought. And then we realized that perhaps that is not possible. It would not be, it wouldn't be very easy, and there would be some issues associated with it. And I think a funny thing is that I think Dr. Bianchi and I were ultimately on different sides of it. When she suggested perhaps we do it with the parents at first, and then she was suggesting, oh no, we should do it with the children if we could. And I said, no, I think we should do it with the parents. So we kind of switched sides on it, but we collaborated. So what happens in the clinic is that the couple shows up, and prior to working with the art therapists, we would have the student attorneys meet with them and talk about their interests and what they want to achieve that day and what's going on with them, and practicing some active listening. And then the students would meet with the other professionals and the other students and share with them what's happening. And then the coach and the attorney would meet with them and have their session. And then we would all meet together in one room, create an agenda, and go through the agenda together with the assistance and support of all the professionals. But when we started just a couple years ago with the art therapy, and I have to say, I was scratching my head a little bit at first. I didn't know anything about art therapy. I didn't know how adults would respond to art therapy. I didn't know how divorcing parents were going to respond to art therapy. And I was curious and concerned. I was hoping that it would be positive. And in fact, it has been. And now when the students meet with the clients initially, and I don't want to step on any toes, but the art therapists do as well. And it's just really magical what happens. Someone without an art therapy background to be able to see the power of that tool and that process is really inspiring. The art gets the couple talking about things, about themselves, in ways that we could not elicit, I don't believe, without the art therapist there. And I would say we have just had so much success and positive experiences with the art therapy program joining us and combining talents and learning from one another. It's really been very special.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, no, it definitely has. And it's been such a wonderful collaboration, because we had that first year was really a lot about understanding one another's discipline, I think. And also like finding ways to really enhance and in a way that doesn't take away from the integrity of both of the disciplines. And so it was really so interesting and so fun. I'm going to share with you a couple things from the first year. Let's see here. All right. So that first year after Kevin and I met, I'm going to kind of share a little bit of history, and we also surveyed a lot of the MFT students and the law students to see what their experiences were. So I'm going to share some of that with you. Share my screen. All right. So this is just like a brief report about what happened that first year, the fall 2022 to spring 2023, when we surveyed the facilitators, the law students and the MFT students. And so after Kevin and I met and figured out a plan, we were invited to go to the collaborative law training in the summer of 2022. And so this was a 3-day training for law and mental health practitioners that wanted to learn about collaborative divorce. And so we felt that it would be really important. Kevin's students were attending this training, and I felt that if our students were going to participate, then it would also be really important to have them attend the training as well. And we also opened it up to some alumni. So you can see Nancy Cho and Madhu Srichio Joyner was here as well, so that we could understand what collaborative divorce was, because it was a very kind of foreign concept to us. Understanding that people were going to collaborate on divorcing, it kind of seemed a little, kind of opposite of what you might imagine. And so this was at the law school in downtown LA, and it was a wonderful opportunity. We met other law and mental health professionals. I think we had about, maybe I want to say about 8 students that attended. There was quite a bit of interest. And we learned about collaborative law, and we learned about how collaborative law is different than what we might imagine in law, like the changing of the language. And I think Meg's going to talk about that a little bit later. And here's a picture of all of us for the Center for Conflict Resolution, where the collaborative law clinic is housed. And this is all of us after the training, and it's the MFT students and the law students that first year. And so then additionally, since we were learning about law and collaborative law, Kevin and I felt that it would also be really important for law professionals and the law students to understand what art therapy was, we're not just the art people, right? That there is actually some methods behind this practice. And so I went in the summer prior to our collaboration, I went and I facilitated sort of like a art therapy information session that was pretty heavily experiential. And so this is me with Kevin. You can see Kevin there and some of the other law professionals, getting them to do some art. And then we started the clinic. So this was in fall 2022. So after the students had attended the training, Kevin led the collaborative clinic, which takes place on Fridays and during the fall. And we began with mock sessions to sort of orient to the process and the space. And so this is at the collaborative clinic in the Center for Conflict Resolution, they have this great, is it a 2-way mirror or a 1-way mirror? I never know. 2-way?
I'm always confused by that too. I think it's 1-way.
we can see them, but they can't see us. And so this is one of our MFT art therapy students, along with 2 of the law students, and they are engaging in a mock case where we are experimenting with the art and different strategies for how to integrate the art into the collaborative process. You can see there's lots of snacks. Kevin is also really good about providing lots of snacks, because it can be a long day on these Fridays when we're helping the couple to come to a collaborative decision. So after we did the clinic during the fall, we really wanted to capture some information about how it was received. And so we surveyed both the law students and the MFT art therapy students and what they observed. It was a little bit more challenging to get the actual responses from the clients because it is confidential, and so this was a different way to collect some data about the experience. And so you can see here, these were some of the questions that we asked. I observed the art therapy process to be a positive use of the client's time. And so most answered that yes, they strongly agree, and some said they somewhat agree. I observed clients to feel supported in the collaborative process through art therapy. 100% agreed with that. I observed the client's art making and verbal sharing to help the clients gain new insights and perspectives. So you can see 62% strongly agree and 37.5 somewhat agreed with that. The client's art making and verbal sharing provided me and other facilitators with new insights or perspectives. Again, 62, 37%. The art therapy process had a positive impact on the collaborative process. 75% said they strongly agree. 25 said somewhat. And discussion about the client's art and process amongst the students and administrators, professionals had a positive impact on the collaborative process. Again, everybody's agreeing to some degree. It was a very positive experience, as observed by the facilitators. These are some of the open-ended questions. This is a word cloud. It's a little hard to see here, but these quotes kind of summarize a lot of the other quotes. So I observed the most useful part of this experience for the client to be, really it was a lot about helping the clients. What people were observing was helping them to settle and ground themselves so that they could really like process what was about to happen. So here's a quote from one of the facilitators: setting a relaxed and collaborative tone for mediation sessions. Clients often appeared distraught when they first arrived and nervous about what the process might be. But after art therapy, they were noticeably more relaxed and at ease with the process. And I can kind of speak to that as facilitating that first year, that it's divorce is a trauma. I mean, it's incredibly destabilizing. And so coming in for this mediation, a lot of the clients were very, very nervous. And so the art process, starting with the art process, allowed them to really settle, to ground themselves. Meg's going to talk about this in a little bit, but we'd have very structured activities for them to sort of envision what they wanted the day to be. I worked the very first case that we did. There was a very large gentleman, he was a bodyguard. That was his profession. He was a bodyguard, and very kind of masculine in his appearance. And so when I suggested that he do some art therapy, he was a little apprehensive. It was like, I don't know about this. And I said, well, if you have kids, this could be something your kids might engage in. So maybe you could try it for your kids. And so he started to create the art. And afterwards, after we were finished, he came up to me and he said, wow, I'm so happy that I did that. I just feel so much more relaxed. He's like, don't tell the guys that I did this, but I feel so much more relaxed. And then he asked if he could stay in the meeting room over his lunch break so that he could continue to work on his collage. So it became like a real resource in that moment for this process. Another quote: discovering new insight as a way as to what they wanted to get out of the collaborative process was another comment. What was found the most useful was this idea around helpful insight in the process. The art really provided this insight, not only for the client, but for the facilitators. So here's a quote from one of the students: putting the clients at ease. While our practitioners did gain some insight into the client's thought process, that insight was generally predictable. Many were there because they wanted to co-parent effectively. So they wanted to put their kids first, and they wanted to move on peacefully in life. So we anticipated some of those responses. This person says, what I found most helpful was taking these thoughts and using them to reorient the clients if they became agitated. Allowing them to verbalize their priorities in their own words gave us valuable ammo to keep the mediation sessions productive and on track. So I think that what was helpful is now having a clearer understanding of what the clients were wanting to get out of it, and having that verbalized and visualized allowed the facilitators to really come back and say, hey, remember that image? Let's stay focused on that so that we can get through this process in a way that's meaningful to both you and your ex-partner. Another comment allowed different insights into what the clients wanted their future to look like. And lastly, these were some of the things that folks said that the program would benefit from. And I don't think this is very surprising. It's always more time, more days at the clinic, additional sessions with the client. This was interesting, fewer people in the room during mediation sessions. They noted that the clients didn't say anything, but that, that this person's observation was that there was a lot of folks in the room. And so maybe, limiting the amount of people in the room. Children being a part of the process. We've been continuing to try to figure out how to do that in a way that is sensitive to everybody's needs, and then continuing with art therapy. So I want to end on that because that's exactly what we did. Because we had such a positive experience, facilitators and clients, we decided to continue the program. And Meg Lewis, who I introduced at the top of this session, really took the helm and stepped in as the program director. And so I'm going to turn it over to Meg to share about her experience.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, Joyce, for arranging this and inviting me to be here and talk to everybody about collaborative divorce. And I hope that this talk maybe inspires some people to also participate in the fall that's coming up soon. So let me get my slide up here. Okay. So it was really exciting to be invited to take over Jessica's role in the collaborative divorce process. I love collaborating with other professionals, so this was right up my alley of things that I like to do. In my background working with betrayal trauma and sex addiction in particular, I deal with a lot of high conflict couples, and so I was excited to see the divorce end of things as well. I didn't really know a lot about the whole process of divorce except from what I've heard from my clients. So to have a more hands-on experience was really valuable for me in my own work. So I was very, very happy and honored to do this. Okay. And okay, there we go. I gotta move this bar. Okay, there we go. Too many little things all over the screen distracting me. We're good now. So just to kind of reiterate some of what Kevin had said, is I wanted to just briefly go over the core elements of collaborative divorce. The most important one, which actually I listed at the bottom, should be on the top, is transparency. I love this about collaborative divorce. When clients enroll in this process, they sign documentation and are informed that information that they share with their assigned attorney will be shared to certain extents to the whole team. And so that we're not keeping secrets, we're not trying to hide information to use as ammo in a negotiation. That part of being collaborative divorce is working together, and in order to work together, everybody needs the same information. And so I really love that spirit of this work. And as a therapist, we don't really get to experience that very often with maintaining confidentiality. And so it's an interesting space to be in and to practice that. and that the clients know about it, right? The clients know that I will be talking to other professionals and sharing with them kind of my impressions of what's happening for them. So what the team consists of is 2 attorneys for each client, 1 financial advisor who is a neutral, 1 or 2 mental health coaches, which would be a licensed mental health professional, but functioning in a coaching role. So they're not providing therapeutic processing, but more so, coaching the client on regulating, helping them through if they reach certain barriers in making agreements, helping, kind of explore what's that barrier and working through that. And as well, then 1 child specialist if needed. In the clinic, we always have 2 attorneys. We almost always have, well, we do always have a mental health coach, because if there isn't one volunteering, then I will step in. Last year we didn't have a financial advisor, but it is a possibility to have a financial advisor in the clinic when needed. And then I would say oftentimes the mental health coaches who have a lot of experience working with children and families can also kind of function as a child specialist, even if they're not meeting with the child, but they can educate the parents on what might be some of their children's needs. So we get, kind of the full picture in the clinic. So what the arts therapy students' role is that they are adjunctive to the mental health coach, and they're leading that very first meeting with the client. So they are one of the people who have the first contact with the client, and we're using art therapy to help ground our clients, assess what their needs are, and then also help the client set goals and intentions. And I have some artwork later on to show you how that happens. How does art therapy support collaborative divorce? Some of these bullet points are direct language from the American Art Therapies Association of what is art therapy, and I think that some of these words really resonate with the collaborative divorce process. So it supports goal setting, which is really important in collaborative divorce. It helps cultivate emotional resilience for the clients. Certainly promotes insight, which we saw from Jessica's research, that a lot of students said that as well. Reduces and resolves conflicts and distress. It's grounding and regulating. It helps our clients organize their thoughts. And it also reveals a great amount of information about the client in a very short period of time. So I made a little visual of kind of what our day looks like. And these timelines are like, we try our best to stick to these times. It doesn't always work, but we do get all this stuff done. What happens is we meet around 8:30, sometime around then. And the students are debriefed on who the couple is that we'll be working with. And the office has the person who completed the intake will share with us some of the things that the couple has talked about in terms of their concerns. And then we have our first meeting. And so there's 2 separate boxes. So each client has at least one art therapy student and 2 law students who meet with them at the same time. So there's 4 people in the room, a client, an art therapy student, and 2 law students. The art therapy student and the law students will introduce themselves and kind of explain the process and what the day is going to look like. And then the art therapy student leads with explaining what art therapy is, why they're there, why we think it's valuable, how it might help them in this process, and then invite them to engage in the art therapy interventions that we use. We only have an hour of time, and we're sharing that hour of time with the law students too. And so really the art therapy students are trying to get all of their work done in like 30 minutes, because the law students need to ask their questions to gather information as well. And but it works, I think. And Catherine, please, at any time that you want to chime in and share your experience, I welcome it. I don't pressure you, but I welcome it. But it's what I think, and I'm biased as an art therapist who believes that art is really powerful. But what I have seen is that the art therapy reveals a lot of information and sets a platform for the law students to elaborate on. And so the art therapy kind of very quickly gets out information that might take dozens of questions to get to. And so even though it seems, I think, sometimes counterintuitive for our law students to sit in silence for 30 minutes while someone makes art, you get so much information in the 5 minutes that it takes for that client to explain their artwork. And then the law students can kind of get much deeper into asking for further information. So I hope that their experience is at least that it does save them some time and get them more information. So we do all that in an hour. And then meanwhile, in that observation room that Jessica showed, we have other law students and other art therapy students who are allowed to observe the process too. So then our next little section from 10 to 11-ish, the students debrief the volunteer professionals, which would be the attorneys and the mental health coaches. And then also we get students who observed, they get an opportunity to kind of share their observations too, which is really cool as well, that to have just so much information from so many people of what they saw. So I really love that piece. It's hard for us to wrap up in that time. And then once the professionals are debriefed, then they meet with the clients. So we have another meeting, usually like an hour and a half long. And each client has one attorney, a mental health coach. Sometimes they're sharing that mental health coach. And the same 2 law students and the same art therapy student is also in the room with them. And the law students and the art therapy students in that meeting are kind of there to support the client, to be a familiar figure. And the attorneys and the mental health coaches are leading that session more. Usually the attorneys are helping to educate the client and identify what their needs are and start to brainstorm what the agenda should be in terms of what kind of agreements we're going to try to reach at the end of the day. So then we have another debriefing meeting with all the professionals and students. And that is to kind of share, again, this transparency, exchanging of information from all sides, where both attorneys and mental health coaches and students get to share what they learned in their session. So it's very helpful if you're only working with one client, you're only seeing that client, to then hear the perspective of what's going on from that other client. It helps us kind of anticipate what kind of challenges we might have when we have both of them in the room together. So we start to strategize that, and we also strategize what our agenda will be for the full team meeting. And then we break for lunch. And then we have what's called the full team meeting. And that is everybody, including the clients, in the same room together. So we've got all of the professionals, the attorneys and mental health coaches. We've got all of the students who worked with the clients. And then we also have a mediator who functions as a neutral in this process. And so we lead that meeting with an introduction of one of their artworks, which really sets the tone for the goal and the purpose. Why are we here? What do we hope to get out of this? And one of my favorite moments was there was a law student who referenced the art one time when the clients were in a standstill and couldn't really find an agreement, and reminded them, is this their image, their artwork, which represented, I think, like peacefulness, like, is this worth this much? I think it was like, debate around like cost of dividing assets, right? So how much does this cost for you? And so it's really cool to be able to have a visual reference and see other professionals who aren't art therapists use it as a tool in the process too. I also just wanted to note, Jessica had mentioned how in collaborative divorce, our use of language is a little bit different. So we say agreements instead of negotiation, because collaborative divorce is supposed to be something that both clients feel good about or feel that, agree to. And we don't call them parties, try to call them by their names, or clients. We call them mom and dad a lot because they usually have children. But so really trying to humanize the process a lot more. And I really appreciate that. I love using the word agreements over negotiations. It really changes the whole tone of this, all right. So these are the two art directives that we settled into this last year. The first is to create an image that represents how you are feeling going into this process. And we inform the client that this is a piece that will not be shared in the full team meeting in front of the person that they're divorcing from, but it will be shared with the professionals as a way to help us understand kind of where they're at, what some of their concerns are, and how they're feeling, and what supports they might need emotionally throughout this process. And then the second directive is create an image that represents what you hope to get out of this process or how you hope to feel at the end of this process. And we inform the clients that they will be sharing this piece with the full team in front of the person that they're divorcing from. And so we really emphasize that this is an opportunity to set an intention of working together, or what is the purpose if they have a child, reminding them that maybe their children are at the center of this, and that's why they're here. The art materials that we offer are very, if you come from an art therapy background, you'll recognize them as very structured and containing materials. We offer them collage, colored pencils, markers, and then a variety of different colored paper to use as their backdrop for their artwork. And I have found, I think, it really helps to offer that collage and materials that they're familiar with. And it's less threatening than if we showed up with paint or something like that. So I have some examples of some artwork from our clients from this past year. And Kevin and Catherine, you both witnessed a lot of this artwork. So if either of you would like to share also your insights from their artwork, I would love that. My memory is only so good, and I know the most about the ones that I was in the room with. So really would appreciate your feedback. But so this first artwork example is from, this was a couple, a man and a woman, who shared 2 children together. So this was the mom's artwork. On the left is, how do you feel going into this process? And she cut all of these different pieces of paper into these thin pieces that were really sharp on the edge. And the cutting process itself looked very regulating and for her. And so she had said that this represents that she feels like all this stabbing, like tension. And so we talked about how that felt in her body, and then it gave me a great window into the types of supports that she would need throughout the day. So we talked about different grounding techniques and regulating tools that she would need. I also had modeling magic that I was able to offer for her to use as something to keep her grounded, which was something that she really relied on throughout the day as well. And then the image on the right is, how do you hope to feel at the end of this process, or what do you hope to get out of this? And so that the right half of that image represents her, kind of being a strong, independent single mother who's just kind of doing all the things that she needs to do to take care of her children. The little fox in the middle represents her daughters. And then the gray on the left is her daughter's father, and not wanting anything to do with him, not wanting to even be concerned about what's going on over there, really separate. And it was interesting. This is where, when working with other professionals, art therapy can be influenced. And so it's a thing that we navigate in this work, where I think I remember this client was about to put on that side like an image of like a man and a woman, and the law student asked about it while the client was working on the art, or asked a question about her ex-husband or something along those lines. And the client got upset, or it kind of changed her. She was like, you know what, actually, I don't even want him in this. I'm not putting him in this. I don't want anything to do with him. So it was a really great lesson in that, how we talk about the art while it's being made influences it. But then what was really great, this artwork really represents how she showed up in that full team meeting. She really wanted complete separation from him, had a hard time agreeing to communicating through, I think, even a parenting wizard app. And so, this artwork really gave us a heads up for what was coming. Kevin and Catherine, do you want to add anything to this artwork, or anything you remember about this couple? I have the dad's artwork to show next, but
No, I remember it the same way you do, that she was really just unyielding with basic requests of sharing information. And if our daughter's going to go on a trip or something, can you let me know? And or to a concert or anywhere that might feel dangerous to me, or just sharing basic co-parenting information. And she was very, very resistant. And it's so fascinating how it comes up in the art, that you really wanted to gray him out of the picture.
Right. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Kevin, for sharing that, for your insights on her. This is the dad's artwork. So on the left was how he felt going into this process. So from what I remember, and I don't remember each image specifically, so Kevin or Catherine, if you remember, just let me know. But there's a drawing of a phone with an X through it, and he had shared how communication with her has been really hard. And then we saw that in the full team meeting. We saw it in her artwork as well, right? Like wanting to gray him out. So that's really interesting when that happens, when you see the same themes in both of their artworks. And then I know the mask, again, was around the difficulties with communication. I think the man on the horse was about kind of just like this upward battle that it has felt like ever since they filed for separation. And then other images in there, I think, were around themes of focusing on the children and just trying his hardest to create a positive life for them. And then on the right was, how does he hope to feel at the end of this process, or what does he hope to get out of this process? There's some images of smiling men, which is about like his own happiness and peace. And then an image of a man and a child. So about his relation, wanting to focus on his relationship with his daughters. I don't really, unfortunately, I can't fully recall what everything else was, but a lot, themes around happiness moving forward and whatnot.
I can add something to that,
Yeah,
Meg.
thank you.
It was interesting to me, the contrast between the other person's artwork and this one, because on the left side, the first one, it was really about where he put the man kind of in the center. There was him and how he felt isolated. The woman's off to the side. He's going up the hill by himself, and he just wants to be there with his kids. And then the second one was that he wanted his children to have fun and enjoy themselves. But what he was really looking for was connection as a family, which was that center one there with the three people. He still wanted to be involved on some level, in some way, which was so opposite of what she was willing or wanting to go to. And yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that clarification, because now I remember the collage that didn't make it into hers was about a family. And it was really sad to see her take that out, given that it was something that he wanted. Yeah. Yeah, this was a challenging case where they both had really different ideas of what co-parenting looked like, and trying to find agreements in such drastic differences.
And I remember thinking in that case that I wish there had been more time you could have spent with mom.
Oh, yeah.
A couple more days just working with her to get her ready for that process might have made a big difference when she was able to sit, but there just wasn't enough time.
Yeah, I agree. She would have been a great case for ongoing collaborative work. And they were a returning couple from the year before. So maybe we'll see them again this year. That would be really interesting. Yeah.
And I think it's important to just point out that, typically the collaborative process, when not done in the clinic, takes several months, and people have that kind of time to invest in the clients and to really draw information and feelings out of them and provide more support and more guidance. What we do is it's very condensed. I love what we do, but it is very condensed, and there are times when we feel that we need more time.
Yep, absolutely. So this second example again was a man and a woman who shared a child together. And I know, Catherine, you were with her for this artwork. Would you like to share it all? Yeah.
I would have to go back and think about it. It's hard on the spot, but
Yeah.
I do remember she was someone who the art really opened her up, and those are tear stains. It really opened her up, and she shared a lot that I think was helpful to the law students, because a lot just kind of came pouring out, and we actually had to stop for a minute and just help her regulate and let her be for a minute before she could go forward. But I'm not recalling everything right now. If you start talking, I might. But
yeah. No, I remember on the left image is how she felt going into this. And I remember you saying how just inviting her to make art instantly brought her to tears. And what was really beautiful to watch in this case was how quickly, by you being there for her and through that, how quickly she connected with you and really relied on you throughout the day for support. And I think that probably wouldn't have happened without the art. It would have been a much more clinical, colder setting without the art, but the art really opens up the emotion and the human piece of all this and allowed the two of you to build a relationship really quickly. And so remember, you did really great work with her. And I think the artwork was about kind of like this barrier between her and him. I think there were some concerns around, it sounded like he was perhaps emotionally abusive towards her. There seemed to be some kind of fears or tensions around that. And I think her second piece of artwork was focused on her daughter and her daughter's happiness, and then also for mom herself to be able to experience happiness and move forward, kind of focusing on the positives of of what she hopes her life will be like. Yeah. And then in contrast, Dad's art was really quick. And I didn't get to observe him making this artwork, but I can only imagine how long it took for him to possibly put this together. But he was very kind of logical about, these are my concerns, money. I think that was school. I think there were some concerns around school with their daughter, and then daughter's happiness. And then what he wants is 2 separate lives where they both live separately, but that they care, they're there for their daughter and are respectful towards each other. And so, yeah, we see this sometimes where someone puts, lots of metaphors or a lot of imagery into their artwork, and then someone creates almost like a diagram of what they want, or something that's very, very like, very logic brain kind of focused. And so it's, it's just always interesting when that happens. But I think as well, we get a lot of information from artwork like this as well, that he, from what I gather, that he's anxious to get to the point, get to the agreements, get to the full team meeting, that he doesn't, may not want to spend as much time on the artwork because he needs to, he's got a lot of things that he's got to discuss in the meeting. And we see that a lot, where people rush through the art because, like, I need to talk about my rights and this and that. And so the artwork gives us a lot of information in that, right, that they're really highly anxious about this process and eager to get started. So still really valuable information. And then this last example I have here, this was a man and an older man and woman, and they did not share children, but they shared a lot of assets. I believe they shared a lot of different, like, rental properties. And it turned out actually that the majority of these properties, the deed was in her name. So they didn't really technically share them, but he was wanting access to them in the divorce. And so this first artwork is from the woman. And again, I think the very quick markings indicate and express that anxiety and eagerness to start making agreements and getting into the legal process. But her first artwork, on the left, how does she feel? She was really focused on how this process was, she's on the road of independence and prosperity and happiness, really focused on kind of that light at the end of this tunnel. And so I think for her coming into this, she was really excited to have the collaborative team support, because it had been a really challenging divorce. I think this couple had spent a lot of money in litigation prior to coming to the clinic. And so she was very much ready to make agreements because she wanted to be done with this. And then in the second image is the son representing, that she hopes to feel light and happiness at the end of this. And she signed her artwork too, which people don't always do. But don't think she said anything about that. But I think if I remember, she was like a little bit humorous about, like, I'm going to sign my work for you. And then the second piece was with the man, and I was with him for this process, and he initially was not really interested in engaging in art, had a lot of questions about the value of it, really skeptical. And I asked him, I was like, this is just, your former spouse is also being asked to do this. And, it's just, something that we find to be helpful in organizing your thoughts or setting intention for today. And so he's, all right, I'll give it a try. And then he spent so much time gathering all these different images, talking about it. So it's really, it's really great when you have these clients who aren't really sure, but they give it a try. And then just through the conversation of going through images, you learn a lot about him. So on the left, how does he feel going into it? He was very focused on the positive as well. Didn't really share a lot about negative feelings, except for the alligator referenced some tension that he's experienced in this divorce process. And the ship was, they felt kind of alone at sea. And then the other images for him represented peace, like being at the beach, animals, and then the Renaissance photo, he said he just likes it, and so he put it in there. And that was it. I love that, right? Just, I like it and I want to include it. And then on the right, how does he hope to feel at the end of this? Again, themes around peace and happiness, which for him, he connects to through nature and through animals. And then I believe the sleep was, kind of just in hoping to feel rested at the end of all of this, that this has been very distressing on him. He's not been able to work at his full capacity because of the stress of this divorce. So he's really looking forward to getting his life back together and being a part of the community again, I think, which is what the map image was as well. Yeah, I don't think you were there for this couple, Catherine, but Kevin, anything you want to add or share about their artwork?
It's funny, I'm not as reminded strictly by the artwork as much, and I remember faces better or the legal issues that arose better.
Right. Well, this
Right.
couple was really fascinating. I think about them a lot, where she had legal rights to all these properties and she was willing to give up a lot just to be divorced from him. And it really showed you, like, for her, what the cost of her freedom was, and it was very expensive. And she was willing to go there. Yeah.
That was now I recall. And this
Yeah.
was his?
Yeah, this was
Because he
his.
was very, I don't know, stoic and very, he had a stack of, he had his
Oh, right.
papers, boxes of papers coming in, like,
Yeah.
we were having a federal trial.
Right.
And yes, I remember this.
Yeah.
All I could say is, I'm always just so fascinated by, using these in a way to express their intentions and desires, and seeing how they hope for the future to have happiness, relaxation, and vacation, and how we can we try to use it as a tool to remind them that the power of resolution and the value of coming to resolution is potentially to achieve all that happiness. So, and it's such a constant theme, and we're able to go back to the art, and we're able to remind them, and to use one kind of as a mission statement, to ground them, and the other one as hope for what they may achieve once they find resolution. I just love it. And it seems to come up over and over in these themes.
Yeah.
I love to add something too. I'm just so struck by these images, and thank you, Meg, for sharing them, because you imagine in these proceedings, right, or these negotiations, discussions, they're coming in with a desire to either win or wanting to get their point across. But this process really neutralizes them, it seems, right? And it really gives them space to express themselves and their values and their intentions without words, right? In image and with the art making, which simultaneously regulates them, but also helps them to communicate more effectively what they really want and the true intentions, which I'm seeing so much compassion. Like I'm feeling compassion for these individuals who just want more connection with their children, right? And their families. So gosh, it's really powerful. I feel very touched right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for pointing out that piece, to that neutralizing, and like that what they end up seeing is they share the same goal. And they don't have to verbalize it, right? But in their artwork, they can see, oh, we're maybe closer than we thought we were. And how beautiful is that to know that the other person wants basically the same things that you want too. Yeah.
Well, and like
Yeah.
that other comment from the year before, it's such great information then for the facilitators. I think they said to like reorient them back to what their intentions are.
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful too, like what you were sharing. Look, remember the image. Remember the image. Let's come back to this.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it when the attorneys and law students use the art in that way. It's really fun. Yeah. Oh. Well, so just my last final point. For those who are thinking about doing collaborative divorce, this is my sales pitch. So if you're a student, it's a great way to get a lot of hours in a single day. It's a full like 8-hour day of client contact. And it's an opportunity to work with other professionals, which is it's anytime you can get insight into other work that affects your work. Highly recommend it. You do get a training certificate out of it. It will certainly help improve your conflict resolution skills and get you more comfortable with that. It's an opportunity to observe others working. So if you don't want to necessarily be the art therapist for the day, but you'd like to watch someone do it, there's opportunities for that. You get a hands-on experience with divorce, which absolutely will inform your work and how to support your clients who might be going through divorce or considering divorce. I've recommended many clients already to collaborative divorce process. And then it's an opportunity to network and build relationships with professionals and other students of different disciplines. I've had so much fun talking to all of the law students and kind of seeing their perspective of the world and whatnot. So yeah, it's a really great, really great experience. Great clinic. I love that you invited us to be a part of it, Kevin. Love working by your side too. I'm looking forward to it coming up in August. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we love working with you. And this has really just, transformed the process and added so much to it. And I can't emphasize enough how I think right from the very beginning, it forces people to think out of a different side of their brain. And they're coming in with all of this anxiety and all of this readiness to, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say fight because they know that they're there for mediation, but still, they kind of probably have a lot of that fight flight in them. And to come in and be asked to create art, it just neutralizes so much of that and makes them think out of a different side of their brain for a while. And it just helps the entire process.
Definitely. Yeah.
Thanks to both of you. I'm going to put in the chat here a link to a Google form. So if you want to participate in the fall, you can add your name and email here, and I will, as we solidify our plans for the fall, then I will know that you're interested and I will contact you. I think typically, right, Kevin, that training usually occurs around mid-August.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and then it's required if you want to participate in the clinic, the collaborative clinic, then you'll do that training, which is free for LMU affiliates. And then you can participate in one or more of the clinic days on Friday. So you can add your name there if you're interested.
Well, thank you, all of you, Jessica and Kevin and Meg, for this wonderful presentation about this beautiful collaboration. And that's really the power of art therapy, but it's also the power of interdisciplinary work, right? Is that we can take the strengths of both disciplines and combine them together to make even this synergistic relationship to even do better work. And I think that's the spirit of what we're doing here. And we really believe that art therapy can be applied in every setting, in every discipline, in every field. And this is such a great example of that. I want to open up to questions from the group. So if does anybody have questions, comments? Thank you, Catherine, also for being here and sharing. Would you like to share some comments, Catherine, about what your experience was like working?
I think it should be a required class. I think it's such a wonderful opportunity to work with law students. You know, number one, other people in a different profession, and to get a picture and to hear. And I wasn't able to go to some of the court's observation days, which I think would have also been helpful to have that kind of in my pocket to understand future clients' experience, what they might be walking into or dealing with. But to be able to have that opportunity to observe Meg, you know, when she was taking on, or the other facilitators or mental health workers, to hear their language and how they navigate things and work with things and when's going too far or not, was so helpful in the moment right there to get that feedback, either observing or when I'm doing it, to have Meg whisper in my ear, you know, later, oh, you know, oh, yes, why didn't I think about that? You know, was just such a gift. And I really appreciate this program and the school working in this way for the larger community, for people that don't have resources, that don't have accessibility to this kind of support. And the collaborative process is near and dear to my heart, because when you think divorce polarizes, right? I mean, it just does naturally, because you're going through that experience. And what this does is put that back into a small community of people that are neutral, trying to support the best interest of everyone. And there's nothing like that. So yeah.
Great. Thank you, Catherine.
I highly recommend any student doing it. I thought it was great. It's
Great.
scary. It's scary when you
Wonderful
first do
plug.
it, but it's good.
Now, there is a comment from EJ. Thank you all for the wonderful training and presentation. I would love to hear if you foresee any possibilities for longer-term collaboration between the two disciplines, such as offering imago dialogue or nonviolent communication skills to the clients at the beginning of the sessions. Any thoughts about that?
I love that. I will certainly thank you for bringing that up, EJ. I will definitely, I will look into maybe just even printing some kind of like guidelines to share with the client in that first meeting, like a laminated worksheet or something that they can reference. I think would be a great tool for them to have, just even for them to have that, to be told like, hey, let's talk about nonviolent communication and be mindful of that. Yeah.
Lavinia.
Hi, thank you all. I gave my comments in the chat. This is just so exciting. What you all have done and are continuing to develop is amazing. And I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity for our students, and that we have alumni like Meg stepping into a role of helping to facilitate this. And thank you, Kevin, for reaching out to us and thinking, how can you better serve those who, are going through this process? And my question is, I was really appreciating the polling that you did, Jessica, and I'm wondering, is there any further efforts or thoughts around doing some more extensive research with this collaboration?
I would love to. I don't know how long my IRB is effective for, but I would definitely support that. I think it would be wonderful to get some feedback from the clients. And I think that we added, I believe we added a question to the questionnaire that the Center for Conflict Resolution gives to the clients. And so I think that we can kind of work on that, right, Kevin? I think Sarah Campos, who is the director of the Loyola Center for Conflict Resolution, they have a form that they give to the clients that went through the process, and we've added an art therapy question. But I think we need to do some more work formalizing that to get their feedback. You know, I'm also really interested in, we have attempted to explore how to serve the children of the couples in a way that is very careful and mindful. We do have an option kind of sometimes when the couple may be a little apprehensive to do the art therapy. We say, well, you know, our clinic can provide free art therapy from our graduate students to your children. So why don't you want to give it a try just to see if that would be a service that you might like. And we've had, like, I would say 1.5 takers on that. We did have one of our graduate students work with one of the children of the couples last year, and then we had some interest this year, but they weren't able to kind of follow through. So I would like to explore how to serve the kids a little bit more with either like the child advocate or you know, follow-up services. I think also too, there was conversations about because it took me you know, it's a pretty big organization, but there's the Loyola Center for Conflict Resolution, and Kevin, you can help me with this, and they have different services within that center, and the collaborative clinic is just one of those. And so it'd be really interesting to see if there are other ways to collaborate with the center in different types of mediation scenarios.
You know, I was thinking about, it would be interesting to do some sort of study where, you know, examining whether or not, well, using a control group, right?
Yeah.
Whether the art therapy intervention, how did it improve the mediation process? Whether or not it shortened the time or it got to resolution quicker, or I don't know. But I'm just wondering, just from your observations, Kevin, how did the art make a difference between those who received the art therapy intervention and those who didn't?
Well, now you ask me to go back 3 years before we started the art therapy. Well, I think like I mentioned earlier, I'm just coming into starting the day and being able to regulate themselves and not just jump into the work and jump into what are the numbers and etc. Has been so helpful. And as Meg said, there is just this nice synergy between the goals of the students to, do active listening and understand what's going on with, each parent and what's going on with our therapy. So that just dovetails so beautifully. And we also have a mission statement that we generally try to create with couples, especially for collaborative processes that are longer. But because we do this condensed version, it's been more difficult, where they both come up with things that they would like to see for their process, things that they would like to see within themselves, and agreements with respect to their behavior and their focus. And the art seems to be almost a substitute for that, because it allows us to identify grounding values that each one has, and redirect them back to that when they seem to get astray of those values. So, and we weren't able to do that previously. So, yeah, no, there's been a big effect. And also, I just want to share that I've been doing interviews this past week for potential students. And so some of the potential students reached out to me afterwards and said, I took art therapy in college, and the students are interested. The law students are interested in taking this class now more because there's art therapy. So not only is it the academics, not only is it the professionals, but the students themselves have begun to take a greater interest in the program because of the art therapy.
That's
So
great.
this collaboration with the Law Center, is this continuing on every year, or how long is it going to be?
I mean, we're trying
Yeah.
to, we're trying to, and I think that, that's one of my jobs in the clinic is in part to like find support for that. So it's always a program that I'm sort of bolstering for folks that might be interested in supporting it. So yeah, but as much as we can.
Great.
Yeah.
So we're encouraging our current students to participate in August. Any opportunities for alumni to participate?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, absolutely. We had
Okay.
Nancy. Yeah, Nancy came to the training the year before last. And I think that Kevin, our alumni can volunteer to be one of the mental health coaches and additionally the art therapist. So they can meet other professionals. They can get this certification and they can also meet other professionals that work in collaborative law, with a possibility, right, of collaborating with these professionals and paid opportunities in their practices. So they're, yeah, right, Kevin? I don't think that's unfair to say that.
No, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, I'll see you in August.
You'd be great, Joyce. You'd be great.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Well, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us together in this faculty talks and hearing and learning and sharing about the collaboration between the HBL clinic and the Loyola Law School Center for Conflict and Resolution. Thank you so much. And this is being recorded, and we will figure out whether or not we can post this on our website. And thank you for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you. Thank all
everyone.
of you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank